up on Wolf. If you wanna retweet from your X, you can, just so that your community is aware on X.
Yeah, I did like 3 minutes ago, or like 5, whatever.
Or no, I was talking about the X stream. Oh, never mind. We're good. We're good to go.
Okay.
All right. Retweeted. Let's go. Okay. All right, guys. Welcome to Wolf Web 3, baby. Really excited to get into the conversation today. We've been on all day long, basically spaces back to back to back to back. And nice to get a little bit of a break from the spaces, jump into a video stream here with Patrick or That Investor. And we're going to talk about decentralization. We're going to talk about science. We're going to talk about combining them for decentralized science to DeSci world. So we do a lot of depends, RWA spaces. These are like subcategories of the crypto world that I was not even barely aware of the last cycle, that even the subcategories existed in the way that they do. There's ridiculous opportunities by niching down. And Patrick's probably got a few things to say about that, but there's ridiculous opportunity when you niche down to capitalize on certain events and certain protocols that are launching. And like, there's so much opportunity for jobs and getting a career, as well as just to make some good bags here. So we're going to learn hopefully about all the alpha, but Patrick, it's great to have you on the show, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I am very passionate about combining decentralization and science into DeSci. So super excited to be up here. We had our DeSci space going for a little bit on Wolf, but it was during the quiet time of everything. So it kind of like fizzled out a little bit, which understandably, it was very tiresome to be talking about decentralized science 3 to 6 months ago, but not anymore. Not since CZ came out backing it. Now things are going crazy.
We set the stage. We set the stage for it.
Absolutely.
It's taking off a little bit too. There's a lot of people really excited about it. So real quick, give a quick, like a super quick elevator pitch summary of your background and then how you ended up in DeSci. And then we'll kind of talk about why, like your thesis behind decentralized science and some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Patrick, aka That Investor or This Investor, depending on the platform, because they keep trying to ban my usernames for some reason. But I got my background in education in science. So I have a bachelor's in science on nutrition. I was very hyperfixated on something called nutrigenetics, which is how nutrition impacts your genetics and your genome. And so after graduating college and getting my degree, I went on to work in a lab as a genetic analyst out of Boston. So ended up being a project manager or a lead for a team of 20 genetic analysts. And we would work with a lot of high profile clients. I don't know that I'm allowed to say which ones they were, but I've said it a bunch of times. Just keep it under wraps for this. I ended up losing that job opportunity, which was unfortunate at the time, but gave me the biggest gift of my entire life, to be honest, because I started making content on crypto and investing, where my passion was. I started just putting myself out there and making relentless content. This is where I met you, and this is where I met Noah and a lot of my other people like Blockchain Boy and Josh, who kind of like showed me the ropes on how to make content and how to be consistent, and introduced me to this novel idea, which Vitalik was posting about at the time and had been posting about for a couple of years, which was decentralized science. And so it was one of the niches within crypto, just like decentralized finance, but it was focused on removing the corruption, adding transparency, and making it easier to allocate funds into different research initiatives, along with a bunch of other things like owning your data, just like everything. I'm sure everyone watching this right now is familiar with that concept. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, my background is merging very clearly here with my passion. Nobody seems to be talking about it except for Vitalik, Brian Armstrong, CZ. Let me dive into this, because I think there's probably going to be some attention flowing here in given enough time. And here we are.
Wow. Dang, dude. That's quite the setup, I guess, for the conversation here. Oh, look at that. We got some people in from YouTube squad coming in. Let's go. What moves first, DeSci or AI at the same time? Oh, interesting question, actually. Wait, we'll just start with this. We'll have this as like the launchpad question, and then kind of get into your thesis behind DeSci and why you've kind of theoretically put all your eggs into one basket.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like that question a lot. I think it's interesting. I think clearly so far the winner as far as social attention and capital has been AI, but I view AI more as a tool to be used by every project, not just like one narrative. It's like if you're not using artificial intelligence, you're not going to be able to keep up with the rapid pace of our industry, especially, but all industries soon. And so I kind of view it as more of a tool rather than a whole narrative. But
Mm.
decentralized science, I think, is just so small right now. Like it's a all told, all combined, according to CoinGecko, it's $1.2 billion in market cap, which is the same market cap that decentralized finance was in March of 2020. So the same the same halving year, a little bit later in the cycle, this cycle. But it's very interesting comparison there because obviously we saw DeFi move from 1.2 billion up to 200 billion over the
Hmm.
span of about 18 months. So we'll see if something similar plays out here with it. But good, definitely a good question there.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I guess I'd be more in the AI boat because I'm more thinking about near protocol.
Yeah, you got
And
the near logo right in your forehead. So I get it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I never really thought I just liked the sticker. I didn't expect people to start calling them the near glasses because I've been wearing them for 4 years. uh, but they became the near glasses. I was like, oh, I didn't really think I was shilling it because I was just wearing it because the sticker. But I guess now it's like inevitable. You're tied, like whatever you're talking about, you're tied to. Like when for example, when I think of Crypto Mason, for some reason XRP comes to my brain instantly, and I can't help it. And same with H bar. I
Yep.
just think of H bar, and I don't even remember what I think about it, but it comes to my brain, and it's just like inevitable. So I guess we can't really do anything about it, but yeah, the AI pump, I feel like it's going to be nuts. Actually, I think the AI pump will be pretty nuts. I put a lot of bags actually in the gaming world, just
Mm.
purely because the top thought leader people keep talking about it, and I figured, well, it'll probably happen at some point then, or this should be a trend and should take off at some point. But anyways, like I'm trying to make some good money. I'm trying to know about some of these industries. So look, the DeSci people are here, bro. Clearly, they've showed up.
Let's
They're
go.
here to learn and hype up DeSci. So like, let's talk about it. So decentralized science, what's the play here? I guess for the average consumer, what's the play here on like a business angle? What kind of like longevity are we looking at here? Like, what's your thesis on DeSci as a whole?
Yeah, so there's multi tiers to the thesis. I'm going to kind of tackle the funding issue first, and then I'm sure we'll be able to talk a lot about that side of things. But in order to kind of like lay the whole thesis out, it's important to look at what blockchain is doing for the finance industry, the main use case for blockchain that people can really conceptualize. And that is if you look into the finance industry, you're going to find a lot of corruption, you're going to find a lot of centralization of power, and you're going to find a lot of just hidden activities that are happening, right? And so blockchain came in and is shedding light on everything, decentralizing the power, and really giving ownership of your financial controls back to yourself. We just saw Brian Armstrong quote tweeted, I think Elon Musk today, like a couple hours ago, saying that there were 30 fintech startups founders who were debanked in the United States, meaning they removed access to the banking system. And so it's like blows your mind that that kind of stuff is actually happening, but it is happening. And if you take that same kind of use case or that same problems and to go look in other industries which are enormous and have the same problems, you're gonna find that healthcare and academia suffers from the same thing. So one
Mm.
example I use to kind of paint this picture is that back in like the 50s, Harvard scientists were paid off by Coca-Cola to put out information about sugar and fats, saying that sugar was better for you than fats. And so everyone started like drinking Coca-Cola, eating bread, having a bunch of Starbucks coffees. And like now all of a sudden we have an obesity epidemic going on because it was false information, but they were paid off. And so the academic industry has a lot of corruption in it as well. And part of that problem is because there's a centralization of the funding mechanisms. And so if there's only a few areas that you can get grants in order to conduct your research, you have to go to companies that are going to give you that money and do what they say. Otherwise, you're just not going to have a job as a researcher. And so by decentralizing the funding mechanisms, we can actually make it so that what needs to be researched gets researched, and then everyone can see the research rather than it be behind scenes, and everyone can see who gave the money for the research. So That's kind of like the biggest one that a lot of people are paying attention to right now. It's like DeFi in DeSci.
Mm. What are the places in the industry you're paying attention to? Like, what do you think? Like what part of the DeSci industry do you zone in on, or do you think has the most legs, or do you find the most interesting?
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect opportunity here to talk about Bio Protocol, which is the protocol that Binance Labs just invested into. So they gave an undisclosed amount, probably a couple $1 million, because what's $1 million to Binance? And they invested into it. They just Bio Protocol is kind of acting like an index fund or a DAO of DAOs. So Bio Protocol creates and helps kind of give the seed funding like Y Combinator does in the tech industry. They do it to several different decentralized biotech DAOs. And so they just did a token sale, like phase 2 or phase 3 of the token sale. And they raised in total amongst these phases, they've raised $33 million already. Insane.
Wow. Dang, dude. Yeah, I was gonna say, because like for me, when I think of DeSci, it falls into a category of things that I put into a category the same as like DPINs or RWAs, where I see a more of a business angle here. But then I'm trying to figure out, like, when people say like I want to jump into the DeSci space, are they talking about jumping in there and just like buying meme coins in the DeSci world? Is that what they're talking about, or like what is going on in the DeSci world? I guess if you're like, oh, I'm interested in this stuff, what does that even mean? Like, does that mean there are 3 or 4 creators that you watch and they talk about tokens, or like what is it? What's like the layout, I guess, of the land?
I think we're still finding the layout of the land, to be completely honest. It's filled with a lot of scientists who have no idea the trenches of Web3 and of crypto. And so we're seeing a lot of people like trying to stumble around and figure out the best way to create the foundation here for decentralized science. That's at least my opinion. There might be other opinions out there. We're seeing right now, thanks to Pump.science, a play on Pump Fun, which is launching like meme coin-esque research studies with small molecules on Solana through Pump Fun. That opened the doors to a lot of the Solana liquidity and a lot of the attention that is on Solana to just like flood into all of DeSci, which is kind of why I started blowing up and why almost all of the DeSci projects out there have been blowing up. So still trying to figure out exactly what's going on with it, but a lot of scientists.
Well, what do you think we need more of, like, in the DeSci world, for like, because people in here already are aware of the DeSci world, the people who are in this comment section, I think. So they're more aware. Where do you think we need to draw more attention to, or we need more of? Like, are there other content creators? Because from what I've seen, there's like might be a few more, but it seems like you've kind of got a monopoly on the market here.
Honestly, there's been a lot of content creators start to turn to decentralized science to be kind of like those early callers of an industry. But as far as content creators that are solely focused on creating DeSci content, it is very sparse out there. Which is why I've been able to like kind of corner a lot of the content creation for it, because it's just like, it's a complicated subject, but it's really not that complicated. It just looks difficult to get into. But really, there are some people that are starting to kind of emerge and create personas around it, but I've not really seen too many that are very consistent with it. I got my girlfriend to make an X account to try and start posting DeSci content as well, but just carpe diem.
That's the way, dude. That's the way. So she's into it. She understands the play.
Yeah, I got her into Riff and Euro, which are the 2 small molecule meme science tokens on Solana, and Riff went up, I think, like it was something stupid, like 100,000x in the span of like 3 weeks.
Wow.
So the returns drew a lot of attention. So
that money, does that go in? What does that money go to once it hits the market? Like the initial liquidity, does the person who launched it get to go do something with that money, or is just purely degenerate play?
Yeah, a mixture for sure. But Pump Science specifically, because again, no shilling of his own girlfriend. That's funny.
It sounds so bad when he puts it like that. Not like that. For anyone who just came in, it's not like that.
It's not like that at all. Yeah, there's a bunch of different models for how it's being conducted, but Pump Science specifically is setting it up in kind of a unique way in which right on the same transaction that the token was launched, they are sniping $5,500 worth of the token. And then at specific set market caps, they sell off chunks of the token that they have in order to fund different stages of research for longevity model or molecules. But it's not just longevity. That's just what we have right now with it. And so like, for example, at $69,000 market cap, they sell off enough money to go experiment with a molecule in worms and see if the worms live longer after taking this molecule, because their lifespan is shortened compared to a human, obviously. So you can see like, oh, these worms were given one molecule and they lived 10% longer. That is successful. We can go on to the stage with the flies, and then we'll go to mice, and then we'll go to humans. And so it like continues to compound like that. But that's just the side that's gaining the most popularity right now. There's a lot of different models, and we can get into them if you want to. But yeah, you want to get into the other models as well?
Well, I'm happy to. Actually, a question popped in my head maybe before was related to, because I've seen you in photos with like various political leaders, and I'm like, what is going on here? How did he get here? Like, what's going on? Like, give me some context on these photos of you in backs, in these photos. Hold on. Give me the context on these photos of you in these rooms with like all these powerful politicians. What's the play here? What's going on?
Yeah. Honestly, I personally see that crypto is trying to be like pushed out of the United States. And it seems like the tide is shifting now that Trump got in office and or he got elected to be in office, and then the Republicans got a sweep of everything. So it seems like it's going to become more crypto friendly, which is good. But I was nervous that it was going to get completely pushed out of the United States. I mean, we're seeing a lot of just like walls up and a lot of websites that block US participants from joining it, which I think is stupid because we're on the same list as like North Korea and Cuba and Russia. And it's like, in what world is the United States on the list with these countries? And so I got friends and actually started working out with a lobbyist in Florida. His name is Sam Arms. He actually works for Gary Cardone, Grant's twin brother. And so he was lobbying a lot more aggressively in the state of Florida to pass crypto-friendly legislation. So he is in part responsible for the ban on CBDCs in the state of Florida, which was then adopted across a lot of other states out there. And I saw DeSci emerging in the form of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. And I wanted to try my best to play a role in setting the framework for DAOs to be legal in the United States. And to start, I had to start trying to lobby in the state of Florida. And so I went with Sam and several other people in the industry to lobby at the Capitol of Florida. And that's when I got to meet a ton of different political leaders. And I went to a couple fundraisers to try and like help promote pro crypto candidates, because your money goes a lot further than a vote does in the United States, at least.
Yeah, that's dope, dude. That is very, very cool. That's what's fun about the Web3 world. If you choose to, you can really like make this part of your life to the point where you're going to these in real life events. We're talking to people in real life. It's pretty cool. We'll do Bitcoin spaces. We did one the other day with Dennis Porter, who's like out there actively speaking with politicians and fighting for Bitcoin and going in front of boards every single week, trying to pitch Bitcoin. And people like him and Michael Saylor and stuff. Dude, it's tough work out there. It's tough work out there, and it's pretty cool that we get to speak to people in real life who are making these, because I feel like online it becomes this game of like headlines just appear and they just like show up on websites and you're like, oh, this happened, or Polkadot has updates over here, or ICP did this, or Solana did that, and you're like, oh, this happened. But like we forget that there are real people actively coding these things, or people doing these marketing campaigns, and it's always cool to meet people who are doing these things in real life. What do some of those conversations look like? What do those rooms feel like? Like how are you supposed to act in those situations?
Honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's very surreal and kind of overwhelming being in any situation like that because, like you just said, there's like a disconnect where you don't actually think you can get involved in these things, or you don't even think that there are conversations like that happening for potentially years before any rulings happen.
Yep.
Um, I I doubt anyone from the Capitol is watching this, so I'll just say it. But being in the room, it was full of ignorance.
Oh,
Nobody has any idea what it is they're actually trying to write legislation for. Like the conversation about how to regulate DAOs from a financial standpoint, it was 20 minutes into the conversation before anyone even acknowledged that nobody in the room had any idea what a DAO was. And so they had already been working on legislation on it for months, and nobody there could answer what a DAO was. So
wow.
it's like it's very difficult because they're responsible for doing so many different things. Like there's no way that they could know everything that they're trying
Yeah.
to legislate. It's a crazy system.
Wow. But DAOs are kind of like super important in crypto. So to not know
Yeah.
that and be making decisions is concerning a little bit. Interesting. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I imagine. Wow. Yeah. I guess I wouldn't even know like how to be like, is my goal when I'm in there to shill something? Like, is that their goal to be shilled? Like, it's crazy. My friend Manza, he was going to a convention, some kind of political event for climate or something like that, and he was like, "Yo, how?" By the way, like he called me one day and he was like, "How would you pitch like near protocol to a politician?" And I was like, I don't know if I would actually." And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "I don't know if I could pitch crypto to any politician. I could maybe have a chance with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is like a necessity and it's good money and it's good sound money. It's a limited supply. You can't just spin it out of nowhere. You have to mine it. There's billions and billions and billions of dollars invested in it. It's got all these things going for it. It's an entirely different conversation, and that's when I realized this is an entirely different conversation. So, anyways, I was gonna say, so it was just I wouldn't know how to pitch like most of crypto to politicians. So I don't know what your pitch is. Like, what is your go-to pitch for DeSci specifically when you're talking to people like this?
It's very difficult, and I've only had a couple opportunities to actually talk about it, and so I'm still trying to fine tune. And it's been a couple months since the last session
Mhm.
where I could even try and pitch it. I sat this one out just because it was too much, but um, it's it's easier, I think, with decentralized science to explain what the use case is because there is kind of a business model there already. There is like a very clear and tangible almost feeling to conducting research. So it's like, yeah, we're using crypto to decentralize the voting process and make it transparent because everyone can see what happens on a blockchain. And it's like those concepts they can kind of understand. So it's a little bit easier to wrap your head around it. But if you're trying to explain how an AI based chain is functioning to like improve artificial intelligence, you already lost them because they don't know
Mm,
what crypto is, blockchain, or artificial intelligence. So it's
yeah.
like, nah, bro, just tell me where to sign and give me some money and I'll sign.
Oh man. Oh man.
It's
Um,
crazy.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like it. I was going to say before we keep going, for anyone who's listening, if you're enjoying the conversation, please give Patrick a follow. He should be tagged up there in the title. Just click his name and give him a follow. If you're on YouTube, go to the description down below and click his X account and give him a follow. And if you're super enjoying the conversation and want to help us out, repost, retweet the stream. That is tremendously helpful because X is not great at letting people know when we're live at anything. That'd be super helpful. Also, I was going to ask. So you did like an enormous amount of travel, probably on par with anyone that I know who's done a ton of travel. But you were like on a plane every other day. It looked like this past year or so. It was like you were campaigning at one point almost. What was going on, and was it related to DeSci at all? You were all over the world.
Yeah, it was an insane year. I had not left the United States before this year, and now I've been to probably like half a dozen different countries and a ton
Wow.
of states this year. So really, really blessed to have had that opportunity to do it. All but one trip was on my own dime, so I really had to put up some money to
Wow.
like make sure that I was going and putting myself in front of the industry leaders. So the whole way that I got connected in anything crypto related to begin with was through going to in-person events. Like it was through actually the live stream, I think with you and Noah, but subsequently after that live stream, it was through going to in-person events that I made most of the connections that I have in crypto. And so like, I knew that if I wanted to be taken seriously, I had to show up in real life to some of these things. So they were all decentralized science focused, except for the trip to Hong Kong. That was for ICP. That was a crazy trip. I got to fly first class out there on like a
Oh,
12-hour
dude, that
flight, which
is
was
sick.
crazy.
I've
Crazy.
never ridden first class. I have no idea what it feels like.
I was so tired. They gave us like a 5-course meal. I had a glass of wine and I like fell asleep in the chair upright. And then I like woke up 30 minutes later and looked, and the dude next to me had fully reclined. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in first class. I can recline on this thing. And I
I
just
love it.
knocked out the whole time.
Is
But
it all that it's chalked up to be or not?
yes, but it's crazy expensive. It's like,
Yeah, that's why I can't qualify. Like I probably could
yeah,
afford it every now and then, but I'm just like, why would I pay 5 times the price for a 3 hour
right.
flight first class? Maybe international. I could see it being worth it, but it's still like, I don't know, 20 grand or something, right?
I think that flight was like 5,500 or something.
Oh,
So
that's
it's,
not terrible.
yeah, it's manageable, but you have to have, I feel like, enough money where you just don't have to think about it. You
Yeah,
know,
totally
maybe
disposable.
after peak cycle, Pico top, when we all exit successfully,
If
we
I make
take
a
some,
6-figure meme coin trade, maybe I'll fly first class just one time for a short
yeah,
or maybe I'll do an international one, like a big trip, and I'll do that. That'd be kind of funny.
yeah, it would be funny. I want to, before we continue onwards, I want to just hyper stress to people that if you have the opportunity to go to events and you really actually want to get involved in crypto, go to the events. They're going to be a little bit oversaturated right now because everything's going straight up and everyone's having a blast. And so it's just like
Right.
you're going to find a bunch of Lambos flying, driving around places. The bear market is when only the true like diehard people are going to be there. But still, go to the event, show face, just shake as many hands as you can because you really do not know who you're talking to.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. I was in Bangkok for Redacted right before DevCon, and multiple times I was at a pool party, ran into 2 or 3 people that I was like, "What in the world?" And I won't say who they were. I was just like, I was shocked. I just did not expect to see some of these people who work at these top companies, like very, very high up top companies, just chilling at a pool party in Thailand. And I was just like,
Yeah.
why? What is happening right now? And second their Telegram. It's a pretty cool world. It's definitely worth engaging with in real life. I pretty much came to Web3 because I thought it was the land of innovation, and it is. And it's also just happens to be mixed with finances, quite literally tied as a token sometimes. So I guess I'm curious, unless you want to stay on this topic about some of the things you're doing while you're traveling. I'm curious on the token side of decentralized science, some of the projects you're interested in, and why, I guess, and maybe why you think that they have legs, things like that. But happy to stay on this topic of the travel first, if you want.
Yeah, no, we can go into the shilling segment of the live stream. I'm down for it.
Let's do it.
Sorry for the dogs barking in the
All right.
background. I barricaded them away from here so they wouldn't barge in again. But yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of opportunity in DeSci right now, specifically because there's not a lot of coins in here. And so as the sector is growing, a lot
Mm,
of them just get bid because
I
they're
see.
under $1 million in market cap. But there's a lot of big names, and I think that's a good spot to start with the names that are backing a lot of these projects before we really get into like what each project is doing. I think the main one that we had already kind of addressed is BioProtocol. That's the whole suite of bio DAOs. There's 8, I think, right now, and they have 3 more coming. And that's the one that CZ had invested into, or at least Binance
Okay.
Labs. I know he's not technically involved, but I'm sure he's involved.
Yeah.
And then the next one that is most obvious for people to pay attention to is Research Hub, which is, I think it's like a $70 million market cap right now. And that is the project that Brian Armstrong co-founded with Patrick Joyce. So Brian
Oh,
Armstrong being the CEO of Coinbase, he has a DeSci project. And they just did an event in San Francisco called SciCon, and he was there in person talking about decentralized science and about
wow.
the open access publication of peer reviewed research. And so It's a huge one. Very like, yeah, it's a big one. Just that name alone for a lot of
Yeah.
people in crypto is like, all right, where
I mean,
do
I
I
can see
buy?
money flooding into DeSci the same way DePin's RWAs are getting a massive influx of money. I definitely could see the DeSci world just getting filled at some point with a bunch of FOMO money from
Oh
like
yeah.
VCs and stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, VCs especially. VCs are
Yeah,
just retail with a lot of money.
I
They're
was gonna
FOMOing
say, I
pretty
feel like these guys
aggressively.
will ape hard.
Yeah.
Are there launchpad projects on DeSci that get you access to like seed to like the ICOs and stuff like that for these projects that you can get in early, kind of like how Seedify is that for gaming and like the last market cycle that was key. If you had if you had enough Seedify tokens and you were getting those seed rounds, bro, you were printing money. So I feel like if there's one of those for DeSci, that might be an interesting place to look for people who are trying to get into the space.
Bio protocol. That's literally supposed to be a platform for biotech DAOs to be spawned from, and then Pump
What's
Science,
that?
and then there's a couple other things I think,
Biotech
but
Hall.
Bio protocol.
Bio protocol.
He's out here bookmarking it right now.
Well, I'm just curious because I'm trying to just like um, plan out just like a variety of various investments in the industries I think will do well.
Yeah.
So let me see if
There's
this is
also, the one of the co-founders of SingularityNet, the AI project that merged to form like super intelligence or whatever. Yeah,
sorry, say that last part again.
SingularityNet, the one of the AI coins that merged with Fetch a couple months
Yeah,
ago.
I think I actually am aware.
So the one of the founders of SingularityNet, Dr. Ben something something something, his name starts with a G. He is the co-founder of Rejuve, one of the DeSci projects that's in the market right now as well. They're doing AI within decentralized science. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Another big name who's involved in some way. But
Love
that's
it.
it. Bio protocol.
Okay, I'm trying to find like is it on CoinGecko as bio?
So it's not, the
Right?
token's not actually live yet. They
Oh, okay,
just,
got it.
I think
I was looking for like a
Q1.
launchpad token,
Yeah.
So
They're a DAO of DAOs. So not necessarily a
yeah.
launchpad, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Right on. Right. Well, that I just feel like that's the highest ROI play you can make if you're like someone who's interested in the industry. You still don't have enough time to do all the research kind of thing. There's ways to like minimize your risk and just having like high upside from multiple avenues. Like the CeFi coin, for example, could go up because the people want to buy more so that they can get this to the round. So your token goes up, so your profits are there, and you get all the just you get into all those rounds that the public can't get into. So I feel like that's an easy play for pretty much all industries, RWAs, DPINs, DeSci. That's what you want to get. So whoever ends up dropping like a launch pad, that'll probably do well. So
I was trying to drop a launch pad for a little bit
Are
there.
you?
Yeah, I was trying to. Things fell through, and I feel like I'd be way too overwhelmed if I actually did that. But I was trying to for a little bit because it was a big opportunity. I didn't think people in the industry were doing it how I thought they should do it. And so I was like, well, I'll just do it myself then. And then it was way too difficult. And I was like, never mind, I'll just go back to talking about it.
Love it. I love it.
No, we can keep going with different names if you want to, because there's a lot of heavy hitters within DeSci. Like,
yeah, let's run through a few of them.
Well, one that I'm sure the chat is going to be enjoying if I mention is Axon DAO, which I worked with them back at the start of the year to help kind of with the launch of everything, but they are in an NVIDIA accelerator program. So that's NVIDIA noticing decentralized science. And it's a lot of it because of the healthcare data. A lot of DeSci is integrated with healthcare data and stuff. Another one is WellShare Health. They just partnered with Abbott. Abbott is the world's second largest distributor of healthcare devices. And so they're a diabetes project. And so they're going to launch a continuous glucose monitoring device with the help of Abbott. I know that Pfizer has invested into VitaDAO, and this was a couple of years ago at this point, I think. So Pfizer's working, VitaDAO being one of the bio protocol projects. There's so many more. There's one that I'm super excited about, which is a little bit different from the biotech realm of everything, which is where we've been talking a lot of right now, and kind of
Mhm.
closer to DPIN. So maybe this one will be kind of exciting for you.
Yeah.
It's called Dynex, and it's quantum computing as a service. And so you can think about how Render is out there getting GPUs to render out graphics for like 3D models and stuff.
Yeah.
Dynex is simulating a quantum computer on a normal computer and then running quantum calculations, which is just like mind-boggling. Would probably require an entire space in and of itself, to be honest. But they're sitting at like a $30 million valuation right now, and they have like 65,000 GPUs in network.
Nice.
Crazy.
Jeez.
Very crazy.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Also,
Can you tell this is all I do every day, all day?
how's DNX doing? Oh, it's
That's
DNX
Dynex,
doing.
yeah.
Okay. Got it. Love it. Love it. Should we run through a couple more? Maybe in various sectors that are important in the DeSci world?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have to mention that I'm an advisor for two projects in DeSci. One is Noble Blocks, which is quite infamous because they had a little bit of a rocky start, but
Oh, what happened?
they're the third party vesting company for the token contracts. You know, when you like get into a seed round for stuff, the tokens are vested for the most part. They were using a third party called Hedgie Finance, and Hedgie Finance got hacked for like $44 million. And Noble Blocks was one of the victims of that hack. So it was like a mass dilution event, and the token just went straight down. It
Oh
bounced
no.
up pretty aggressively, but it really hurt sentiment. Yeah, it kind of sucks, but they're making a nice rebound here, and it's the same type of concept as Research Hub for open access to scientific publications. So I'm very passionate about that overall
Yeah.
because I think, and oh my God, you're getting my mind racing like crazy. So hopefully, feel
You
free
can keep going
to shut
down.
me up.
You can just keep you can just keep going actually. Just
Okay,
keep going
cool.
down all the rabbit holes and down. That's fine.
You're like, I've been live for like 12 hours today.
I'm
I'm
chilling.
down to.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Because so the open access scientific publications. So this is something that the White House at the end of last year in the United States passed legislation saying that by the end of 2025, so this time next year, all government funded research has to be published in open access journals, which is completely shifting the entire industry of academic publishing away from the model that they currently had, in which you had to pay to see the research, and researchers actually had to peer review the research for free for each other. So their time was being wasted, and it was like gated so that the publishing agencies like Nature Journal, for example, were making like 40 to 50% profit margins, and they're just kind of like sitting there letting everyone else pay to use
Wow.
every aspect of it. And so this was huge because the government funds close to $1 trillion annually of research and development. And so all of that funds now, the results of that has to be published in something like Noble Blocks or Research Hub. And so the whole industry is trying to shift on a dime here, and they're just fumbling, in my opinion. And so it like really is just forcing everyone into DeSci.
Yeah.
Crazy, like the stars just keep aligning. For this narrative, the stars just keep aligning with it.
Where do you think it goes in the next 2 years? Is it like what's some practical, realistic expectations maybe for the industry that you think of?
I think over the next year, we'll see, hopefully at least, knock on wood, the bubbly time for crypto in which anything and everything just kind of like goes straight up. And I think that's going to draw a lot of attention and a lot of eyes and a lot of money into the space. And so that money is going to inevitably funnel into the hands of a lot of researchers, because most of DeSci right now is funding mechanisms.
Yep.
For research. There are other things that kind of are unlocking healthcare data, which previously has been siloed off because of things like HIPAA regulations. But a lot of the people are going to get funding for research right now, which is going to hopefully accelerate different things like longevity or fertility or cryopreservation or things along those lines. a lot like moonshot things, even like going to the moon, literally. And then we're going to be in a waiting game, and the markets will probably crash, and everyone's going to be pissed off because none of this research is going to have results in the next 12 months. Very like maybe a handful of things will, but the reality is it's probably going to take like 2 to 5 years before we really see the results of what's getting funded over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
And so like we'll probably go quiet for a little bit. Everyone's going to be pissed, say it was a scam, and then next
Hopefully it
cycle
lines
will
up
start coming
with the
back.
bear market, and we can have, because like we'll probably have a multi-year bear market at some point. Maybe it's that it just builds up, and then everyone kind of suffers for the bear market, and then we recycle and we go again.
Yeah. I think it actually might line up pretty nicely. If the 4-year cycle continues in crypto and we see that year of just frothiness, and then it just collapses, I think it will line up pretty nicely where the results of the research start coming out around the time that like Bitcoin has bottomed and the markets are starting to pay attention again. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out, but
definitely. Right on. By the way, anyone who's listening in the audience, if you have any thoughts or questions, please drop them in the chat down to ask Patrick. What kind of anything to do with DeSci or his life or whatever, down to bring it up in this conversation. Let me think. So you've also got a background in trading too. Is there like ample opportunity for just people who are like, DeSci is cool, that's fine, I'm just looking to trade stuff? Is there opportunity for like that kind of stuff? Is there enough volume in the industry alone, in that aspect for like DeFi kind of thing?
There's becoming more and more volume for trading in and out of positions like that. Right now, I would say not yet, but I would start paying attention closer to it. Swing trading, yes, there's a lot of news that's constantly coming out, and so if you're paying close enough attention, you can kind of buy the rumor, sell the actual news event. But a lot of the things that would be subject to different catalysts to make the price go up or down are so illiquid at this point that you're gonna move the price buying in and out of it. Like it's so small that you are gonna become a whale if you try and trade with anything more than like $5,000. And so yeah, as the space grows, hopefully that changes. But a lot of like the IP tokens, so real world asset, DeSci is like an umbrella for all the narratives, to be completely honest. Like we have intellectual property tokenized on chain, and those have potential to trade in and out of, but they're very illiquid right now.
Okay, got it. I'm curious too, in the decentralized science world, which topics / like sectors of science that either excite you or you think there should be more of, or is worth just putting a spotlight on, I guess.
Yeah, so I worked in a genetics lab, and so I'm very passionate about genetics. It's something like I don't have the exact numbers, but Moore's law when it comes to like the depreciating cost to produce things because of technology and stuff, and how quickly we can accelerate. The cost of genetic sequencing has fallen off a cliff over the last like 20 to 30 years, in which when they first finished the genomes project, which was to sequence a whole human genome, it took like 12 years and close to $1 billion. And now you can sequence like 95% of the human genome in about a week for like $300. And so that has opened the door to a lot of things like personalized healthcare and personalized medicine. Because if you could go to the doctor on your annual checkup, and we're still a little bit far away from this, but if you could go to the doctor and get a swab of some cells from your cheek and sequence the DNA or sequence the DNA in your blood and be able to identify different genetic traits that are starting to emerge or show more of, or different like proteins that are floating around in your blood to be precursors to different diseases and stuff, you could begin treatment earlier. You could actually try and prevent the onset of different diseases. You could actually, a more practical thing that's not like, that's where my brain goes because I'm very excited about it. But more practical thing is like with Poseidon DAO, a project that I'm an advisor for as well, they're going to be focused in initially, at least, with some like cancer research. So like personalized cancer treatments for people. And I know like we've had discussions about stuff along this line, not cancer, but like antidepressants and stuff like that, where it's kind of like a little, you grab a bunch of pills and you throw them at a wall and hope that one of them sticks when it comes to treatment. It's like, no, we don't need that. You don't need to take 30 different antidepressants before we find the one that works for you. We can analyze your genetics and see which antidepressant's going to react in a good, favorable manner for you. And then just start taking that one. And it reduces the trial and error rate dramatically. So personally, I'm very excited about that. Most of the industry is very excited about curing death, the longevity, living forever. Yeah.
Whoa. So are they a fan of the sleep guy who's like the #1 sleeper of all time?
Brian Johnson?
Yeah, that's him. That's the guy.
Yep.
I've actually watched a few extra podcasts of him because I was trying to figure him out. I was like, is this guy just like a psycho? Or like what is up with this guy? And I actually watched a few podcasts. It's like, I think he's a super normal dude who's just super curious and just like can do it. And he's just that rich. And he's just like, yeah, I'll just give it a go. And I think he actually comes from an altruistic place rather than some weird, strange, like billionaire, like suspicious guy that people, I don't know. I think people can't figure out how to categorize him because he's kind of off-putting because he like looks young and old at the same time. And people like can't figure him out. He's such a divisive character.
Yeah, he is. He's big into DESCI, the whole Don't Die movement. Yeah. He's been to quite a few different conferences and such.
No kidding. Have you met him?
Unfortunately not. I did not get to the events that he was at in time. He like, if I was a little bit earlier, I would have gotten to meet him and stuff. Yeah. But he's big into DESCI, the longevity movement, because they found out basically that like death is curable. Like you don't need to die. It's something to do with the degradation of your genome and just different diseases that catch on and stuff. So like you can theoretically live forever. I think we're a little bit too far away to kind of hit that point in which they find the cure for death. But the idea is you don't know when we'll get that breakthrough, especially with AI, that will find the cure for death. And so if you can just live an extra day, you don't know if that day you got to live extra, like, is the day that they found the cure, and then you don't have to die. And so it's the whole movement is about taking care of yourself, being healthy, working out, eating right, all the staple things that we know we need to be doing. But it's really driving it home that like we're at the point right now where every day, every week, every year counts, because they might find the cure for death in the year like 2042. And if you die in the year 2040, you missed it. You just missed it.
Wow. Could you imagine? You're like, dang, dude, you're like up in the afterlife. You're like, bro, are you kidding me?
You're like, damn it, I could have stayed down on that planet for a little longer.
Like, dude, I could have worked at my job for another 150 years. You're like, are you kidding me? Like, I could have got 150 more years of compound interest on my Bitcoin.
That's the thing. It's like if you go down kind of where you were just leaning a little bit, that dystopian idea of it, if we were to make it so that humans could live to be 200, 300 years old, do I really want to live in a world in which I go to Walmart and get greeted by like a 180-year-old woman in a wheelchair? Like, do I want that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it becomes a little bit of how you're like, is this life, or is this me just like, I don't even know, like doing something I shouldn't be doing kind of thing. Like that kind of creep into the like ethic moral conversation. You know, it's crazy. I actually met this lady. I was flying to Korea for one of the conferences, I think a few months ago with Near Protocol. And she was on the ethics and morals committee for IFV or IVF babies, the in vitro fertilization egg babies. I really have no idea what to think about them. I like didn't even know this was a thing, honestly, until a few years ago, but I don't really have an opinion, so I don't know what to think. I also became Christian like a year ago, so that kind of shifted a lot of the things that I guess the way I think about things and the way I start thinking about things in some ways. So I don't know like what to think. So it was just like wild running into her, and she sits right next to me, and we start talking for like an hour. And it was fascinating because she's not, I don't think she was, I have no idea if she was religious. I don't think she was, but she was super sympathetic, I guess, towards both sides. She's like, I understand why these pro-life people are pro-life in the way that they are. I understand why they get to this conclusion and why this person over here who doesn't believe it can't get to that conclusion. Because so I get all that. She goes, and here's like the issue. And then she's like, now we have to figure it out. And I was like, bro, that is so fascinating. I hope these people in DeSci are as like competent and think about this as deeply as this lady does when she was talking to me. Sometimes I get worried that like everyone in crypto is just a total scammer. And it just has no idea what they're doing. They're just kind of throwing the dice in there, but they're totally unqualified. I get nervous about that sometimes because you like bring in all these big people, these like Larry Finks, these massive corporations. They come in, they invest $1 billion. And I'm like, are these people qualified to take on this kind of like, should we be dumping $8 billion into this? Is it really this big of a thing, or is this a bunch of hopium?
Yeah, it's definitely a mixture, and it gets very scary whenever you see big money flowing into stuff because you know that the ethics are going to end up suffering a little bit. At least that's the history that we've seen, which is pretty crazy. I see the comment from Dan the Man, let's go. Pretty sure the rich will monopolize cheating death. Yeah, probably. Well, unfortunately,
like, is Patrick going to die today or tomorrow? 30%.
But at least it looks like it'll be on chain. So we'll be able to see what they're getting and what they're doing. So
yeah. There you go.
Knock on wood. I do, and we don't have to go down this rabbit hole if you decide we don't want to, but I just became a godfather this last weekend, so I feel extra religious right now.
Are you really? That's incredible.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a really, really good time. Yeah. I'm very, very blessed to be in that position. It like really honestly made me excited about faith a little bit, again, excited about religion, but something I wanted to share with you because on the same realm of IVF, because what they're doing is like finding viable eggs and viable sperm and creating like little baby fetuses and then freezing them.
Yeah.
And waiting for implantation, waiting for the mother to decide or not decide. But that moment of conception has happened. And one thing that I saw recently, and we can talk about the idea of that because it's kind of scary. But one thing that I saw recently was that at the moment of conception, they were able to record and see what happened. And there was a chemical reaction that took place that emitted a very bright light from the egg the moment conception happened. And I just thought that was a little bit poetic, pretty like
I've seen this video I think on Instagram, like on Instagram,
probably
where it's like a big flashing light. Yeah, it makes me think, dude. Like I have no clue what to think about it. Like I've seen like the conversation on like Christian YouTube wwhere they all debate about it. It's like Christian politics and stuff. And I've heard the atheist side. It's a really interesting conversation. I am pretty much just every time I like go down the rabbit hole and I get enough of each side, some of these concepts I'm just like, I don't know if there's any way to like. I think we'll just wrestle with this until the end of time because it'll always just end up being a divide here. And sometimes you're like in a sticky situation where like, you know, a one-liner, while it might be the answer to whatever you're going through, it might not be that simple. Like it might just really be super difficult. And, you know, you having one Bible verse or some kind of thing that you know, some kind of lesson that you know, and it just doesn't work because life's super complicated and you've got kids and a wife and a job and, you know, like, you know, a million things going on at once. It's not that clear cut and dry, and it can take a long time too. So, dude, honestly, like I don't know how I did it without my faith prior. I think I was just like endlessly searching for whatever that pull felt like, and I think that was strong enough to keep me going. But it's an entirely different like mindset. Like even now, where we're going 1,000,000 miles an hour with Wolf and doing videos and content, and just like endlessly being pulled in different directions. I still try and find my way a few minutes in each day to just slow down if I can. I try and read the Bible every day, and if I don't, I can notice like a noticeable difference of annoyance and just being aggravated. So I don't understand why it feels like something's, I don't know. For me, like the Bible has always been powerful from a metaphysical way. Like I feel like an inner peace when I read it that I can't explain, that I can't replicate in the gym or anywhere else. So I'll just take that for what it is and move on with that. But there's a lot of things in life, dude, in the moral, ethical conversation where I just don't have like an answer, or I have an opinion, but I'm like, it's a super uncomfortable like opinion to have. And I don't really know if it's the right answer, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's life. It's never going to be that simple. There is no cut and dry aspects of life almost at all. So it's like, why would we expect this to be that simple either? And yeah, you gotta like ground yourself to something. And for a lot of people, it's religion. For some people, it's literally touching the earth. It's like, you just need to find that thing that really speaks to your soul. And I
Yeah.
think as long as you stay true to that, you'll be able to like navigate a little bit easier.
Yeah. I was always searching for that like peace part where it's like it's just a baseline piece. I kept searching. I would always find pockets of peace and I would like feel it for a little while, then it would go away. But I'd never experienced anything that was just like a lasting peace like I had when I converted to Christianity. Like I really can't explain it. It was so metaphysically transforming overnight that I like can't explain it any other way than like I guess it was true or something. But anyways, like yeah, that's we could probably do a whole conversation on that. Honestly,
For sure.
I know we have we're kind of coming up. We actually can go over the hour, but there was one topic I was really curious about because, well, honestly, I can't believe how it happens this cycle. But RFK has ended up as like, bro, he like became the guy, and he's like in charge of all things health now in America, and he like totally flip flopped politically. A whole lot of things happened this year, but now we've landed with RFK in the spot in the driving seat for health. What are your thoughts on that? He's big high on crypto, big high on Bitcoin. What do you think this is going to mean for crypto or health, DeSci?
I love it. I love it very much so. I am hoping to find a way to get in contact with him to show him DeSci and just like get him in contact with the people that are going to be able to like make things happen. But I know that he would love the concept of it. Like Make America
Yeah.
Healthy Again is his big movement. And he's publicly said that he wants to put the election on the blockchain to make it transparent and equitable and everything. And it only makes sense to put a lot of what he stands for on chain. And I think DeSci does it. It's already out there being done. And so if he could find out about it, like I'm extremely excited to see him get a more meaningful role. And I know a lot of people honestly in traditional academia are kind of scared because he's like, I'm going to take fluoride out of the water. And they're like, you're going to kill everyone if you do that. And it's like, no, he's just looking at the actual research, not the generally accepted consensus that exists, because let's be honest, that consensus was paid off.
Yeah, the part about science that is just so crazy, science and health and all that, is just the fact that it's like a system flip-flopped on its own to self-perpetually feed itself money endlessly and give itself more and more permissions over time. And it's like a system where when you look at it objectively, you're like, this doesn't make any sense. You're like, this is totally in your face, blatantly, obviously stealing all your money and, putting like, not letting things go through because then, this won't work anymore. We can't sell it anymore. And we need this to go up because we want to make profit. It's like all these things where you're like, this thing's set up to not work unless you like kind of cheat. And you're like, how is this working? And then like you go through that for a while, then you find people who are in the industry who've been yelling that for the last 10 years because they noticed it 10 years ago. And here they are still fighting for it. So it's a pretty interesting landscape only because I think it can expand like 100x, because, we have Donald Trump and RFK who are not exactly averse to conspiracies. So I'm just like, I feel like some of these things could get out of hand in a raging bull market to where we blow something open. I don't even know if it's always good, but I feel like it might just happen. And so I'm more on the line of, I guess we'll just prepare in case we see some craziness happen. But do you have any weird predictions for where this could go? What would happen if someone in the presidential cabinet gets involved with the project while they're like the standing president cabinet? Do you have any predictions or thoughts of what might come about this upcoming year in the next 4 years as well?
I think it's inevitable that they get involved to some capacity if they actually are able to do some of the things that they've been talking about. We'll have to see if all these promises actually come true, which we know that most of them won't. But I do think it's inevitable that within the next 4 years, we will see some involvement with the DeSci industry in government, or the other way around, government involved in the DeSci industry a little bit, because it is, like you said, decentralizing science sounds really cool. And obviously I'm extremely passionate about it. And there's a growing number of people passionate about it. But at the end of the day, you have people like Brian Johnson doing self-experiments with compounds that are not FDA approved. The FDA, while it might be corrupt to some extent, it is there to try and protect us from some of these compounds that are just not studied enough or are confirmed to be dangerous. But people who want to live forever are willing to put their life on the line to take these compounds. So I do think that inevitably we'll see somebody conduct citizen science or decentralized science and accidentally off themselves not live forever. And then we're going to see a massive influx of regulations coming into the industry. I don't know what that looks like, though. I have no idea. I'm just going to be reactive to it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like no matter what, the pattern seems to be that people get more and more involved, like because of social media, and then like the celebrities went from these people that we only saw online or on the screen, like in their movies, to like then we get these influencers. Now we have like celebrities making online profiles and sharing more of themselves, and then companies showing more of their internal business and stuff. I feel like, and even like health companies and things you'd never really expect there to be like some kind of social media angle. There is now because it's like what is needed to compete in the marketplace. So I'm curious to see what that looks like in 10 years if it just keeps getting more and more transparent. Like, when RFK was like, we're going to put all the voting on the blockchain. And I was like, is that something that actually happens? And then what? Then do we, is there no more transparency? Like, I know the concept in crypto, the ZK rollups, I'm going to get all the words mixed up. My brain's totally fried from the spaces earlier. But there are words. There are things that give you, enough privacy within an area that's relatively transparent, where you don't have to, reveal every single bit of information about your soul just because you want to use blockchain.
Right. Yeah. The zero knowledge rollups, that was spot on. That's something that's happening across blockchain, elections, and even like, to name another project, Data Lake. They're using that technology in order to gain access to the siloed healthcare data over in Europe. They actually got funding from the European Union, which is crazy. But by attaching zero knowledge proof to that concept, you can keep your identity, but we can actually use the data that you generate as an individual, which previously has just been pushed and siloed off to not be used, to conduct research and gather information to at least direct the research. Yeah, it's huge.
Huge. Well, listen, I was going to say, before we wrap, I'm curious to know what a day in your life looks like now that you've maybe settled down a little bit more than you have in the last year where you're out of a suitcase. But it looks like you're somewhat settled down and you're staying in one spot.
Yeah, it's been very nice right now. I got 3 monitors and 2 giant lights in front of me. So I finally have a little bit of a studio that I can start pumping out my content again and be more consistent with it. But a day in the life for me right now, at least when I'm not traveling, is I get up usually when my body wants to wake up, but sometimes I have to set an alarm. Like if I was staying up too late, like last night I was up till 5 a.m. actually, but it was not great. I just couldn't sleep, but I'll get up. I try and have water, go on a morning walk, and then have some coffee. Morning walk sometimes doesn't make it. Try and stretch because I'm going to be sitting in the seat for the next 8 to 10 hours.
Yep.
And then I go live at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard, Monday through Friday.
Nice.
A little self-show there, shamelessly.
Sure. Anything you need.
Just to talk about DESCI and give everyone updates and everything. And then after the fact, I'll sit here and try and be involved in the different communities that I'm involved in the private groups and everything. Make some content. I had hurt my lip, so I've not been able to make as many videos lately because it just hurt to talk, but that has healed up. And so now I can get back to making my videos. And then a lot of connections in the DeSci industry, kind of behind scenes, trying to just make sure that everyone is getting the resources that they need. And if I can help in any capacity, I do my best to provide that help. And then just to grow it, because especially right now, it's just such a small industry that a win for any of the projects is a win for all of them. And I think that was outlined perfectly with BioProtocol raising money from CZ. And then all of a sudden, every single DeSci project is taking off and getting more contributors and stuff. And then, that's pretty much my day. It's not super exciting sounding, but I'm having a blast.
I mean, this is the this is not the bear market. This is the bull market, pretty much. It's just go. And then it's like only when you're looking back, you're like, holy smokes, we just like ripped through that last 6 months. I didn't even realize what happened. So I know in the last cycle, like it was literally over before I knew it. Like I didn't even know what happened before I was like, oh, we've been downtrending for 4 months. I think we're in a bear market. And then we just never came back. And I was like, oh, I guess it's over. Like I guess that was fun. Yeah, we were like, everyone's like, half the people were just hanging out with their bags still fully packed, going like, oh, we're done. Like the party's over. Like half of us got wrecked. So crazy year.
It was brutal, but We stayed. Look at us now. You've been absolutely killing it. I don't know how you're like an AI machine. Not even sure that you're real, to be honest.
Thanks, man.
No, we met, but
You did me.
you've been killing it, dude. So props to you. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had no choice. The Wolf team is high standards, so I'm happy. That was like half the reason I joined, so I could get on a team and be pushed. And so they are killing it, and they're definitely accomplishing more. We're definitely accomplishing more as a squad than we are like on in an individual level. I noticed that like last year or 2 years ago when I noticed the NFT morning show with the Nifty guys was just so successful, and it's because they had a dynamic of people all willing to work for one group kind of thing and sacrifice and all that stuff. And I was like, dude, I'd be down. I just got to find those people. Like, I don't think we're going to find them in crypto. Like we had a couple of conversations during the bear market. We were like, there's too many of the wrong people with all the spotlight and all the attention. And it's definitely frustration. But I mean, if you stick around, you end up finding your people and finding people you like, and then partnering up for a couple small things here and there. Then maybe you find something that works for a couple of years, and then kind of keep going from there. But anyways, I'll throw it over to you for like any final takes you want to have or any call to action / anything you have coming up that you want to let people know about.
Yeah, no, this was fantastic. So thank you so much for having me on. I'm enjoying the live stream side of it. It's a lot more fun than just talking with the voices.
Yeah.
I would pay very close attention to altcoins, obviously, but DeSci. I do think, and I'm a little bit biased here because I've pivoted my entire career as an individual to the success of decentralized science, but we're seeing right now, like Bitcoin dominance is starting to fall. I would make sure that you guys have done your research to find some of your winners for the cycle and make sure that you're comfortable with what you hold. Don't follow anyone blindly. That is the biggest piece of advice that I could give. Probably the only advice I will actually give is to not follow blindly. Unfortunately, everyone follows blindly at some point and gets burnt because of it, but just try and avoid it if you can. There's opportunity everywhere, man, but it comes and goes quickly. If you don't get FOMO either, I guess is the last thing, because there will be another opportunity if you missed out on something. But you guys know where to find me. That Investor on YouTube and This Investor on X. But if you search That Investor anywhere, you should be able to find my content.
TikTok?
Yeah. Not anymore.
Oh, taken down.
I was closing in on 100,000 followers there. And then I made one too many conspiracy videos, and they were like, they permanently banned me. Even inside the back end of TikTok, they can't see me anymore.
What?
Yeah. Crazy.
Bro, oh my gosh. That is too bad. Because you were a fiend, you were a demon on TikTok, bro. You really figured out that algorithm.
I was having a blast.
Yeah.
Once a month I was having some sort of a viral post, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I was loving it. I mean, you were at like 10K at one point. And then you just started flying. And I was like, holy crap, dude. Like, when did Patrick get 100,000 followers? Or nothing, or whatever it was, like some ridiculous number of 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
And it was wild, dude. It was wild watching it.
It was crazy. It was like I went to bed at like 6,000 followers. And then that night I had my first viral post, and I woke up at like 25, almost 30,000 followers. And I was like, holy shit, I got to do this more. And then I found myself making conspiracy videos about Trump's assassination attempts and the link to the CIA. And TikTok was like, you're done. You're done.
What feels better, a follow from a big, important person that you're hoping to get a follow from, or 30,000 new followers overnight?
I'm going to have to say the 30,000 overnight. Yeah, I feel more impactful, the big follow from one person, because then you get to connect. But the feeling is just crazy to see the numbers roll in.
Oh yeah. That's I've only had that happen a couple of times, like a massively viral video where you just get crazy conversion. Had it a couple of times on Instagram. It is a pretty wild feeling. So I'd actually probably agree with you there. It's pretty cool. Anyways, cool. Dude, it's great having you. I really appreciate you coming on. These conversations are always fun. And for people who don't know, I've known Patrick since like 2020 or 2021. So it's been a minute since the TikTok days, just kind of talking about NFTs back in the day. So it's great that we're here now, and we're like very much in the middle of this kind of like shift in paradigm where Bitcoin's becoming a real thing. And it really feels like we're on the precipice of something pretty insane.
Yeah, it's been a fun time. Stressful, no doubt, but very glad that we've stayed connected through this whole time.
100%, man. Listen, come back anytime. Guys, if you're watching and you enjoyed the conversation, give him a follow. YouTube, hit him in the description and give him a follow. And make sure you turn on notifications because he's going to be coming out with all the DESCI stuff. And we'll see you all later, everyone. We have spaces and streams every single day. We have a space actually in like 20 minutes talking about the market. So we'll see you there. Take care. And